Hello and welcome to a look at the time-weighted rate of return with me, Andy Duncan, here at Finlingo.com. The time-weighted rate of return is the default method for analysing fund managers unless a particular fund manager dictates to clients when to invest and when to withdraw cash from a particular fund. For that, you need the money-weighted rate of return, and we have a video for that which you can see in the show notes. Before watching the rest of this video, if you're unfamiliar with either the holding period return or the geometric average, you might want to watch our two videos on those two different topics too. Again, the videos are in the show notes. But if you are good with holding period returns and you're good with geometric averages, then we're all set and we're all ready to go. With a time-weighted rate of return, you treat each performance year completely separately from every other year. Each year is a standalone year. We work out the individual holding period returns for every year as if the investor is completely starting from scratch each year and then cashing in at the end of each year. Once we've got all these sequential annual holding period returns, we take a geometric average of these figures to work out the time-weighted rate of return, which is just that geometric average. Hopefully this will be clearer in the example. Here we've got our regular investor Sean, who's decided to invest in Finlingo Luxury Yachts, or FLY, for a 2-year period. At the beginning of his investment, the FLY share price is $65.20. Sean buys 4 of these shares, so that's an investment of 65.2 times 4, which is equal to an initial investment of $260.80. At the end of the year, FLY announced a dividend per share of $3.91. This means Sean receives this amount times 4 because of his 4 shares, which is equal to a cash income of $15.64. The share price has also gone up to $72.37, which means the end value of his investment is this amount times 4 again, which is equal to an end value of $289.48. Remember, with the time-weighted rate of return, we pretend that the investor gets out of the investment at the end of every single year and then starts again the following year. We're now ready to work out the first holding period return, or what we'll call HPR1. All holding period returns are equal to the end value plus the income, take away the initial value, and then divided by that initial value. In this case, this is 289.48, add 15.64, take away 260.8, all divided by 260.8, which is equal to 0.16994, or approximately 16.99%. So now we're all set for year 2. Sean's pleased with the initial investment results, so he decides to buy up 3 more shares in FLY. This takes him to 7 shares in total. Remember, for the time-weighted rate of return, we treat every year as if it's the only year in the sequence. You'll remember the share price went up to $72.37 at the end of the first year. So we multiply this by 7 to get our new initial value for the start of the second year. Remember, we're treating this as if we're starting from scratch. So this sum is equal to $506.59. At the end of the second year, FLY announces a second dividend of $4.34 per share. So this means Sean gets this times 7, which is a cash income of $30.38. And at the end of the second year, the share price also goes up to $78.16. So we multiply this by 7 to get to an end value for our HPR of $547.12. We can now work out this second holding period return, or HPR2. This is 547.12, add 30.38, take away 506.59, all divided by that same 506.59. This is equal to 0.13998, or approximately 13.99%. We've now got both of our required holding period returns to work out the time-weighted rate of return. So now we can calculate the geometric average, which will become the time-weighted rate of return for this particular 2-year investment. Let's get this done on a separate sheet. The geometric average of the 2 holding period returns is 1 plus 0.16994 multiplied by 1 plus 0.13998. Square root this, then take away 1, which leaves us with 0.15486, or approximately 15.49%. We are done. We now have the time-weighted rate of return. Time for an ice cream. Before we eat that though, let's run those figures through a cunning Excel spreadsheet to check we got everything right. So the initial share price was $65.20 and the initial number of shares was 4. The year 1 dividend per share was $3.91 and the end of year share price is $72.37. And remember, this is going to be the start of year 2 share price. The number of new shares purchased is 3 and that takes us up to a total of 7 shares for the second year. And the year 2 dividend per share is $4.34. The year 2 share price right at the end is $78.16. We do have the same result with this spreadsheet, so everything's looking good. Now let's try an example on Finlingo.com. When the question comes up, note down all of the appropriate figures. Now go through the methodology and plug in all of the numbers to get our holding period returns. Once we've got the HPRs, plug these into a geometric average equation to get the time-weighted rate of return. Now look for this answer on Finlingo. Select it and move on. Keep going with the method until you can do it quickly and accurately every time under exam conditions. Get over now to Finlingo.com where you can answer infinite questions on the time-weighted rate of return along with virtually everything else in finance. Finlingo. Speak finance fluently.